Hey there, welcome and howdy to the final episode of the Pyrogenic Summer Challenge. So far, Summer Steve has survived 1 month, and with the current setup, we can almost survive indefinitely. We have a thriving farm, copious amounts of water that renews with every single storm cycle, and lastly, a generator with a very large amount of gasoline. So I think we have this one in the bag. All we have to do is keep an eye on things and coast on through. But before that, I do have a few more objectives to complete. Number 1, I want to collect more food and establish more freezers to hold the influx of it. Number 2, I want to actually build and expand my base inside of the movie theater instead of just camping in the corner. And lastly, number 3, I want to get a new and reliable looking car. Oh yeah, and during the meantime of all of this, I will also be leveling up my skills as much as possible, which includes reading. And for the first stage, it's time to start trapping and farming wholesale to build up our stockpiles. I started off the first day digging out massive amounts of furrows to have enough baiting material, netting me over 100 worms easily, which then led to me finding out that I had gotten my first seedling cabbages. So that means more rabbits and more seeds to plant cabbages with. After this point, the box traps were catching chunky rabbits left, right, and center. I then repeated this monotonous schedule for a while up until I had gotten a new rain, which both filled up my water barrels and watered my plants all in one go, making the next week or so of my life very simple and easy. And out of excitement, I decided to plant yet another row of cabbages. Though with all of these rabbits and cabbages, the next problem were that my freezers were jam-packed with food. So I needed way more freezers in order to keep this up. And the plan for that was making my way over to the other gas station in search for the 2-box popsicle freezer. I packed up my bow and left knowing full well that there would be a lot of zombies to provide resistance. And there definitely was. Way more than I had originally thought. So after shooting all of my arrows and attracting a massive horde, I decided that a tactical retreat to rearm myself was in order. But this time, we had a shotgun and a dream. I instantly drove back and gave the zombies a nice warm welcome. Is what I would have loved to do, but Summer Steve is pretty terrible at aiming, so all I really did was just bring more zombies to my location. To make things worse, the temperatures were also getting extremely warm. I became exhausted and sick from heat stroke. If I didn't change my course of action, I would have died a super anticlimactic death. So I decided to go for the tried and true Molotov technique, hopping into my AC-cooled car, throwing out a molly, and letting the zombies burn away while doing circles inside my car. I cleared out a massive horde, but I knew to call it quits when my tire had popped, driving back home and resting up for the day. Exhausted, but alive. I took this as a lesson that the high temperatures were always going to be around to kill me if I got too cocky and confident. The day after went much better though. I drove up with my 3-tired car to the gas station, clearing out the opposition with a few well-placed shots. Sadly, there was no freezer inside of the gas station, but when I moved over to the nearby Gigamart, it revealed a popsicle freezer inside, making my trip worth all of the pain, plus we got a few gas station treats. With these new freezers, we should have more than enough food storage for the far future. And it seems like the indoors also has a limit on how hot it can be inside, with the temperature sitting at a fair 100 degrees during a 130-degree day, which meant I didn't need to worry about dying indoors. The last thing I did for this phase was butcher and bulk cook a bunch of rabbits to chomp on for the upcoming future. Now that the food situation was taken care of, it was finally time to look forward to creating a more permanent base location. And that started off with me taking care of the actual theater by destroying the seats with my sledgehammer. Once that's done, we have one main problem, and that's acquiring the resources to actually build it, which is a problem when our car only has 3 tires and we need to pack lumber back and forth from the train cars because of the lack of wood. So it's about time for old Summer Steve to hit the grindstone to acquire Mechanics Level 2 so I can actually hotwire and get myself a new vehicle. Sadly, that was the only option because we didn't have a jack to replace the tire. The grind was gonna be boring, but over the course of a few days and then some, we finally got to level 2 mechanics, which means that the white car is now gonna be our new mode of transportation. I then made a bunch of sheet ropes, took my sledgehammer, and cut out a few new paths from the fence line. I got as many logs as I could, tied them up with sheet rope, and did multiple runs back and forth to build up as many construction materials. After catching even more rabbits and leveling up my trapping skill, I had accrued 11 piles of logs, which meant it was finally time to start building my base. After a very long amount of prep, it was finally time to begin construction on the base, which is definitely going to take the longest out of both stages. The plan I had to actually build out this space was going to have a partition right down the middle of the massive theater room to separate 2 big rooms, with there being a second story fit with a bedroom and party area. Thankfully, most of the walls were built, so all I needed to do was lay down the foundation. The second story did count as outdoors for a bit, but all it took was a restart of the game and we were golden. So after I set everything up with my blood, sweat, and tears, it was actually time to furnish the place, which meant looting nearby buildings for any cool looking furniture pieces. Thankfully, with our new car, it was gonna be pretty speedy. I stopped by the bar first and found some nice pieces, including a bunch of counters, couches, and low tables. I would need to do it in pieces, as furniture weighs a lot in-game, but the place was coming together nonetheless. So I also opened my reach to the gas station for its red carpets and posters, and the older radio station for its bathroom amenities and jukebox. I then set up a basic living room, kitchen, and bathroom, which all was looking pretty fantastic. After that, I checked the farms, the traps, collecting even more food, and then finally moved my way over to the spawn location where I started. Over there, I was able to find even more furniture and decorations for my base. I loaded up on those, took a few bits of lumber, and made my way back to slap down even more decor. I raided even more from the bar, and decided to have a cool drinking lounge for the second upstairs room. For my last trip, I found an extremely nice home with all of the last bits of furniture I needed, including a red fridge, an American flag, and some pretty nice low tables. The base looked fantastic near the end, and I was super proud of what I've made, thus marking the final chapter for the small journey. And I'll be completely honest, the final crawl was absolutely monotonous, as I have already completed everything I wanted to, though I did move my freezers to my actual base, turning my front area into a workshop instead. For the most part, it was just a bunch of reading and a bunch of homesteading, netting me so many dead rabbits and cabbages. Though I did forget about one thing while doing all of this, and that was finding a nice new vehicle to use. Thankfully, from previous experiences, I knew how to hotwire and replace windows, so nothing was unobtainable for me at least. I then drove down to the highway of the zombie congested traffic jam. There were a few zombies, but I was able to train them and gun them down one by one with my bow. After that, I had laid my eyes on a nice red hot rod. I decided it was gonna be my main vehicle for the upcoming future, so I decided to tow it and went back to my base to hotwire and gas it on up. I did have to break a window, but all I had to do was take out another and replace it, which led to me having a brand new car. Just about, unless you count the window being, replaceable. After that, it was all off time to where I continued to read and water my plants, bringing me to my limit with the slow monotony of daily life, leading me to the final stretch. Hello and welcome to the final bit of the Pyrogenic Summer Challenge. I'll be honest, I'm a little ashamed of myself, but I did not make it to day 100. We have instead made it to around day 60. Yeah, day 59, just about 60. I did all I really wanted to do in this challenge, and I think going for another 40 days, another 40% of the challenge, I would have an aneurysm. But we have done a lot more than I've done in a lot of my other series, and I think we have reached a point to where, you know, we have a very comfy base. We have a very comfy amount. Really, what's killing me is just the monotony of every day, just checking the farm, checking the traps, repeating, doing something a little bit new. I mean, we've been doing a bunch of reading, and I could definitely get to 10 carpentry and maybe even 10 in all my other stats. But, I think I'm done. We finally moved out of our little, whatchamacallit. We finally moved out of our little lobby. We actually established ourselves a base. We have a food income that is spanning over 4 different fridges and freezers, all free rabbits and carrots and cabbages alike. Over 100 cabbages inside this freezer. And if that wasn't telling enough, we have become overweight. I've been surviving so well. That's how you know. I mean, it's a very comfy base. I'm very happy with how it actually ended up with the partition in the middle and then the stairs leading up to my bedroom and bar. And I think it's one of my more favorite designs that I've done so far. Absolutely love the vibes of the bar. I kept it, you know, the old wooden plank just to stay with the theme. And yeah, I mean, it's as good as it's ever gonna get, isn't it? We even got ourselves a little bathroom. It ain't plumbed, but it sure as hell does work. We have a technically new workshop area behind the counter. And over here, we have a brand new hot rod with my farm that continues to produce every single vegetable and fruit known to man. Matter of fact, we've just gotten even more seedling cabbages. By the way, I'm so good at farming, I can literally just pan over any crop and it tells me immediately what the stage is, which is really helpful. If that wasn't good enough, though, we have ourselves so many water barrels. It's been like 10 or like, it's been around 10 or 15 days since it last rained, and I still have half my water reserves to go, and that's not even all the stuff inside my bathroom. We got a generator that's always running, and if I hop inside my vehicle here, I can show you my trap line, and, you know, it's going good. Also, this car is really freaking nice. Which we are here now. As you can tell, we have a lot of traps. They do break every now and then, but all I need to remake traps is wooden planks and nails, which are both renewable resources for the most part. I mean, we have like over 1,000 nails, and I'm not sure if you could tell, but the overall area is looking a lot more green recently, and that's because of the erosion system. So it's becoming a lot more green than it was at the start. The color palette is dulled, and I think that's very telling of how far I made it, and I'm pretty proud of where we are. Plus, we got, what, another 6 traps for birds. Yeah. This trap line is the food source that keeps on giving, and even if I did lose it, I would have enough resources to survive till winter, so we don't have to worry about that. And it's really just checking my farms and checking my traps and then immediately going back and reading books. So I think it's safe to say I won. I'm gonna say I won. Just for my own sanity. I've done a lot here. I'm very proud of myself. This is actually one of my more long-running characters, believe it or not. And hey, we really showed that challenge what's up. But now, it's time for Summer Steve to retire a very, very cozy life. Anyways, I think this is the end of the challenge, for real this time. Summer Steve has survived 1 month, 28 days, and 22 hours, or I'll just round it up to 60 days. We're overweight, and our skills are pretty damn high, with my highest being a level 8 in carpentry and going on up. We got a 4 in cooking, a 4 in farming, 2 in electrical, 4 in metalworking, 2 in mechanics, 1.5 in aiming, 4 just about 5 in trapping, and 4 in foraging. I mean, the movie theater base really did pan out in the end. I love it a lot. But it's finally time to move on to a new series, and hopefully, and maybe a few one-offs here and there. This is Private Lime, and I will see all of you later. Peace the hell out, everyone.